So welcome back students to yet another video of this seemingly unending series of interviews with toppers of 2021. To share with us her success story, we have Dr. Divya today, who has secured a wonderful rank of All India rank of 44 in FET exam. And she has taken an institute of her choice, Nova Infertility in Ahmedabad. So welcome, Dr. Divya. Many congratulations on this wonderful score and wonderful seat that you've been allotted. Let's hear it from you a little about yourself and then about your success story. Dr. Divya.
Ma'am, I'm Divya Jain. I'm from Bhusawal, which is a taluka in Maharashtra. I completed my post-graduation in 2019. I actually wanted to do super specialty since in post-graduation only. I decided to do that time only, but wasn't aware of any class or what all books has to be referred for it. Till I met you and I joined Reproductive in 2020. I started my preparation from 2020 only, December.
Okay,
Earlier,
so when did you clear? You cleared in?
2019.
2019, and the next year you decided you will start preparing for this. So you were still working in the last year that you were preparing?
Yes, ma'am. I was working. I was working as a lecturer. Till now, I'm working only.
Okay, you're working till now also. So never took off.
No.
That's nice. Let's discuss which all subjects where you referred from. How did you do oncology, obstetrics, gynecology, and then reproductive medicine?
Ma'am, first I used to listen to your video and then I used to start a chapter. Like for oncology, I read Perec and Hacker as advised by you. For OBS, I read only guidelines, both ACOG and RCOG.
Wonderful.
For infertility part, I refer to only your videos. Because earlier I tried to read Gardner, then I realized everything is covered in the class lectures only.
Class notes only.
Yes. So I didn't refer anything for infertility apart from. And for gynae, Spero.
Spero, you read for gynae.
Yes.
Wonderful. And how much time did you devote to studying every day?
When I started in December, it wasn't a dedicated preparation due to some family issues, but exam got postponed, so I got an ample amount of time. But in last few months, I made sure that each day I referred to at least one guideline, one TOG article, and 50 MCQs daily.
Okay. So that was a lot of studying every day.
Yes, ma'am.
With the work that you were doing, with the work that you were already doing.
Yes, ma'am. In the last few months, I made sure that I read I tried to cover almost all top articles and all guidelines. Because since maximum of us are already reading, already preparing for MRCOG, we have knowledge only about RCOG guidelines. But as a paper was uploaded by you of previous NEET SS, questions were there from ACOG too.
Right. You have to focus on both the guidelines.
Both the guidelines. Videos were very helpful because in videos, all the guidelines were covered and comparison was also there. Just like an RPL guide, an RPL class, ESHRE, ASRM, RCOG, ACOG, everything was covered.
Yes, so I have simulated recommendations from all the standard sources for most of
for all the topics. So it was very easy to revise, but I tried to read these guidelines also as much as possible.
That's wonderful. So that is a lot of dedicated preparation you have done.
Yes, ma'am. I tried.
And you also read the big books. So standard studying you did Perec and Hacker and Speroff, two important big books. You read all the guidelines. So exactly, I think I remember this is all that I've been telling you. Yes, Speroff I did not advise much about because it's such a vast book. If you have read it, it's good. Otherwise, some people might not find so much time to read Speroff. I think you must have finished Speroff before starting to prepare.
No, ma'am, I read Speroff only during my preparation days only. I tried to cover major important topics. I didn't read menopause chapter, which was very big, but other small topics which weren't there in guidelines, I read from those books. For OBS also, for which ACOG and RCOG guidelines were not there, I read Williams. For all those
very
chapters.
Thorough studying you've done. Tell me about your last month preparation. What did you do in the last 1 month before the exam?
Ma'am, for last month daily, I used to wake up and I used to first read 2 of your videos, any 2 videos.
That's wonderful.
Any 2 videos, and the notes which I had prepared. I had notes of all the guidelines and talk which I read, and I'd made all the notes and important points and mainly percentages. And in FET, percentages were asked a lot.
Many questions were there on percentages.
Many.
That's nice.
And while I was preparing for MCQs, whichever MCQ I found it difficult or related to some new topic, I used to write it down in a book. So I had to read only those books in the end. And not
the end, you just have to. So you had your notes prepared for the last 1 month and you would go through the videos in the last 1 month.
Yes. Only videos and notes in the last month.
In the last 1 month, no textbooks.
No textbooks.
You cannot read anything new in the last 1 month.
Last few months. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
For the exam, tell me, since it was a negative marking exam, how many questions you attempted and how did you decide which to attempt and which not to attempt?
Ma'am, in the question, if any one option was relatable or I knew about it, then I used to attempt. I didn't attempt any of those percentage questions which are very absolute or there is nothing to think about. Then I didn't attempt those questions. But if any one option I knew about something related to one option, then I used to attempt those questions.
So how many did you attempt?
I mean, NEET tests, in FET, I left only 2 questions. I have attempted all.
That's wonderful. So that is what all the FET toppers are telling me, that they attempted more than 95 questions.
Yes, ma'am, more than that.
All of them are saying this. That's wonderful. And how did you decide that in between gynecologic oncology and reproductive medicine, you have to pursue reproductive medicine?
Ma'am, earlier I wanted to do gynec oncology because in residency there is no exposure to infertility. So I wasn't aware of anything about infertility part.
Okay.
But
So
while preparing, I had developed so much interest in infertility. Then I decided I want to do infertility only.
Okay, that's wonderful. So what exactly, made you realize that you were interested more in reproductive medicine? What during the preparation?
I understood what is infertility, what has to be done, what are the guidelines and all. You made it very easy for us, all the big books, Gardner and Kaminirao, whichever notes you gave. So it was very easy for us to understand. Because if we try on our own to read these books, we don't understand anything. It's very difficult.
Because you're not practicing infertility, and then to read Gardner's without practicing infertility is very difficult.
Very difficult.
You have to have someone to explain those concepts to you.
And the concepts were very explained. It was explained very nicely by you, so it was possible for us.
During the class, going through the video lectures, you decided that you will prefer reproductive medicine over oncology. That's wonderful that I helped you make the decision, and that's a good decision, and hopefully for you. So, one small tip that you would want to give to the students?
I like to tell them, go through all the possible guidelines. Only reading ACOG or RCOG isn't sufficient, because in IFET, questions were from RCOG. In previous years, they were from ACOG. So one should be aware of all the guidelines. What are the differences among them? And the main key points which will help us to decide the question is from either ACOG or RCOG.
Wonderful. This is such a good advice you have given, because students keep asking me that which to read, which to refer for these exams, whether ACOG or GTG. So it's not like MRCOG exams that you have one set of guidelines. In India, we don't have any guidelines, or we have very few Indian guidelines. So you have to know all the guidelines. You have to know ACOG as well as GTG.
And WHO also. Since also started asking questions from WHO.
WHO also, yes.
Questions might be there from WHO.
Cancers and labor. I think there are a lot of guidelines from WHO that you have to read.
Yes. And cancers, both NCCN and ESMO, both are must.
Yes. So last batch, I think we did cover a lot of ESMO, ESGO guidelines that were there.
There used to be debate in group every day, I think, which has to be followed. ESMO, NCCN.
Yes, students keep asking me which has to be followed. You have to know that they have all the guidelines on their table while setting the paper, and they'll set it from anywhere they want. So you have to read. In fact, once you have finished reading all the guidelines, you will understand that they are very complementary.
Yes,
in the first reading, it might feel that they are contradictory, but when you finish them all, when you're thorough with all of them, you know that they're all complementary, and more or less they're saying the same things, except for a few small points.
And those points help us to decide into question where the question is from.
This you have to decide in the exam that this question is from RCOG or ACOG. That will come only when you're thorough with the guidelines, when you have yourself gone through the guidelines.
Because previous year's HIV question was from ACOG, and if we have gone, if we follow RCOG for it, then answer becomes different.
Right. And this is one topic where the guidelines are very different. When it comes to NACO, it's different. American guidelines are different, and British guidelines. For HIV, all the 3 guidelines are very different, and you never know where the question will come from. So you have to know HIV from all the guidelines. That's definitely true. So that's
questions are mainly from guidelines only. I think.
Mainly from guidelines. At least OBGY are mainly from guidelines only. Infertility also, you have so many new guidelines, and you have to be aware of whatever new is published in OBS, gynae, reproductive medicine, and oncology. If a new guideline comes just 1 month before your exam, you definitely have to read that, isn't it? That's
Yes, ma'am.
wonderful, wonderful advice from Dr. Divya on preparing an FET. It is so nice to have